What's up, everybody? And this particular webisode, I don't know if it's heavy. I think it's just real.
It's
We got this question so much.
Yeah, we have.
What if I practice abstinence?
I stay pure.
Get married, and the sex sucks.
Yeah, it's bad.
There was a guy that actually made this comment in my IGTV yesterday. Man, just being straight up with you, bro. I gotta have sex before I marry a woman because I need to know, can she fulfill my sexual needs? And if she can't do that, then she's not worth marrying. So the woman I'm gonna marry, I have to have sex with. Let's talk about this. Number one, I want to talk about God's original intent. So many times we always talk about the recovery, and He's a God of not just a second chance, but chance to chance.
Yes.
I understand that.
Grace,
I'm a benefit,
mercy, and all that great stuff. Forgiveness.
I am a benefactor of the grace and the mercy of God.
1000%.
However, if we don't address God's original intent, we won't know where to detox. God's original intent was for sex to be a discovery, not an exhibit. Therefore, you're learning together. So His desire was me virgin, her virgin. I don't know if I'm hitting it right. She don't know if she hitting it right. I don't know what I like.
We both new to this.
We both new to this.
Right.
I don't know when I'm killing it. She don't know when she's killing it. We're just learning.
You learn together. That was God's original design. But
yeah,
unfortunately, the world has perverted it so much that
we have perverted.
The world, mankind has just perverted God's original design for what intercourse was. There's all these expectations that you have when you have sex because you have multiple partners, or you've done it so many different ways or so many different times that you have this. Honestly, sexpectation. You have this carnal, this almost evil view of what sex is.
It could be evil because one person could have been molested, and since somebody raped them or molested them, sex disgusts them. So because you got exposed to it in an evil light,
you know another word?
You don't even want to be touched from it.
Like a perverted view. Yeah. There's like this perverted view of what it really is. It's supposed to be great. The experience is supposed to be amazing. But so many people have perverted it so much. And they have this like I said, false set of expectations that they put all this emphasis on it. And that's not even what God's design was. Yeah. Like, oh, you can't satisfy me, so, I'm bouncing. That's awful that you would even view a woman in that light. You want to, to the point where you're like, I'm cutting her off because she can't satisfy my needs sexually.
Well, let's talk about it. That's what culture teaches.
Exactly.
Culture teaches us that. Music teaches us that.
And men too. A woman feels the same way about a man.
Pornography teaches that.
Yeah.
And so
it's all about me. It's real selfish.
This is why masturbation is dangerous, because what masturbation does is it teaches you how to please yourself. And so somebody who has like a masturbation addiction, you're constantly training your body what you need to be pleased. And so when you get with somebody, when you get with your wife or you get your husband, if you have been participating in masturbation for years, you could have possibly by default classically conditioned yourself to reach your peak versus discover theirs.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I think is not just a sacred or secular thing, a lot of people don't want to unlearn. We don't want to unlearn.
That's true.
So therefore, if, say you don't believe in Jesus and you believe in another religious view, and I begin to challenge you and practice apologetics and really be able to defend my faith, a lot of people would just dismiss, well, that's just what you believe. And truth is, could it be, I challenge you to such a degree that it causes you to rethink and reevaluate.
Question.
And if I'm wrong in this area, what other areas could I be wrong in?
Yeah.
And I don't want to risk having a demolition project done to my thought process. So you do you, boo-boo, and I'm going to do me.
When you think about the wonderful and amazing love of God, right? And how He views marriage and how He views sex and the covenant and what it all represents when you actually enter into intercourse with your spouse. It's so spiritual. And then what people have turned it into has made it so cheap. To the point where you're like, it's just sex. Where it's so much more. It's so much more. And it's just another extension or another expression of God's love and His love between Him and His church. And that should be only expressed between a husband and a wife. But because people, man, women, the media has objectified it so much. It's turned into this nasty, self-satisfying thing that people crave, that people lust after, and if they don't have it the way that they want it, they're like, forget you. And that's not the love of Christ. That's not how he intended it. And that's not what you should do or believe, especially if you are a believer or consider yourself a Christian.
Change your perspective, and there also must be a detox. If you feel like this already, I want him to hit it like this. I want her to work it like this.
Right.
You're already setting yourself up for possibly sexual frustration.
Yeah.
Because you're going into this thing with the mindset, this is how I know I like it.
Right.
But what if they don't like it?
It's expectation.
What if they don't like it? So now you'll look at them some type of way.
Right.
Because of what they don't like.
Right.
Well, I like when, you do this, but I don't like that. That hurts me.
Right.
Or I feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't like it rough. I like it and so now you got all of these dynamics to where you have couples who are married and sexually frustrated, but they haven't been detoxed from their preferences.
Yeah. Or their past.
Or their past.
Yeah.
And we haven't
other
even
sexual experiences.
We haven't even touched pornogaphy because we have a lot of husbands who are expecting their wife to behave like porn stars. And so it's not her fault that we were exposed to the demonic and we expect her to do things that really queens don't do.
Right.
What women of the night do and what queens do are not synonymous.
Right.
And so really discovering what it is she likes, discovering what it is I like is the way that God intended it to be.
Exactly.
So when we go in this mindset, well, basically what you're saying is, what if I do it God's way and doing it his way sucks?
Right. And God's way is always the best way. Like God's way is always 1000% the best way. Now it's up to you and your spouse to work together to love each other, to satisfy each other, and to fulfill one another. I mean, and if you love one another, you will make the effort to do that, and it pleases you because you, like I said, because you love one another. And the sad thing is people going and comparing their spouse to somebody else. Like I don't want my spouse comparing me to some other person, and I don't, and vice versa. Especially if you are a believer and you were born again and you had all of those other experiences prior to being born again. Don't compare a sinful act to a holy union and a holy covenant. Don't do that. Okay, you discover now with your spouse, your covenant partner, and that's how God intended it.
Yeah, we have to stop wanting God's stuff the devil's way. And then we wonder why it's not working.
Right.
What if I practice abstinence, get married, and the sex sucks? The real question is, what if I'm doing it God's way, but I'm not thinking God's way? So deep down on the inside, I'm just doing it because I was told to, versus I'm actually being detoxed from what I was exposed to, which gives me the heart to do it God's way. You could do things God's way with the wrong heart, and you'll reminisce of what you had in Egypt. And I'm discovering the problem. The problem is not necessarily getting to the promised land. The problem is we're going to the promised land, but we still have an Egypt appetite. And since we still have that Egypt appetite, we'll always be a slave to what we were in Egypt. Redefine TV.
Well, we're redefining relationships righteously.